In this particular presentation, we're going to see why some societies use child-rearing practices. When we are done with that, we will digest some traditional child-rearing practices, and then we'll see the role of a home in child-rearing, and we'll wind up our lesson by seeing the changes in the child-rearing practices and what this has had, the impact it has had on the child's education. Let's start off with why do some cultures carry out child-rearing practices? The first reason that we can advance is related to the aspect of the desire for a particular culture to survive. Why is this important? Because if child rearing does not take place, there is no survival of the culture, of the norms and beliefs of that particular society. Because of child rearing, a society is comfortable that their children are going to survive because of the systems in place. They will survive as individuals because they are going to be kept out of danger. And similarly, their well-being is going to be guaranteed. Furthermore, child rearing is used by societies because they want to develop the children's capacity to provide for their elders and younger members of society. That is why, for example, in many of our Ugandan cultures, though this is dying down, the parent says, let's sell this land because we want to ensure that when I am old, my child will provide. So there is that belief, and not forgetting the very survival of their culture and its beliefs. So that is why we have these practices going on. Now, we want to put some focus on the traditional child rearing practices. What is involved in the traditional child rearing practices? One, provision of shelter and clothing. So, the culture ensured, the set of people, the tribe ensured that there is shelter for the children. And similarly, there is clothing for them. So within the African context, in some cultures, these were considered vital aspects to take care of. Child rearing practices would also ensure prevention of illness, and should the illness take place, attending to the illness. They would ensure the young ones are taken care of. The third, because of child rearing practices, traditionally they expected the social well-being of a society. They expected security, socialization, and love. Security, socialization, and love. That those aspects would be taken care of because of the child rearing practices. The little ones would socialize within the family setup, would socialize within the village setup, would socialize in those different spheres, and that the young ones are shown love. The mental development was encouraged through play. That is why you would have games like Mweso. It would stimulate the mental growth of young ones. And finally, traditional child rearing played a role in the physical development because it ensured the young ones are taught how to bathe, they are taught safe play. And bathing would help them to avoid some diseases, notably the skin-related diseases. Now, the home has always played a very key role in child rearing. Which areas does the home play in child rearing? One, it introduces experiences that enable them to fit in the community. So within the home sphere, they are told when you wake up, greet your parents. An experience that will be extrapolated, extended to the neighborhood, to the community. The home was the basis of training the child to be self-reliant. They would learn cooking, they would learn farming, they would learn hygiene. When they learned all these, the end result was, should they leave home or should the parents not be there, these facets were carried on into adulthood. And that is why you notice people that have small gardens within Kampala, if they had a very strong background where farming was emphasized, they do a lot of backyard farming. Sex roles. The role of a mother, the role of the father was emphasized within the home setup. So the girls would know what the roles of the mother are. The boys would know what the roles of the father is. The father needs to look for something to feed the family. So they would learn a skill for that purpose. Now, the home plays a very key role in guidance and counseling. So because of that, the would-be habits that would grow into a gross situation are curbed because there was counseling at a family level. Please avoid coming back home late. Please do not play with those boys. Guidance and counseling. And finally, the home had the arrangement to set standards, to set norms, to set codes of conduct that are acceptable within the family, within the village, within the community. Those were the salient roles of the home in child rearing. Unfortunately, because of the dynamics of the society, child rearing practices have changed. And this has had a negative effect. It has had a negative effect on the children and their education. Let's see the changes that have taken place and the impact this has had on our children. In the past, young ones were never left alone. I remember when I was young, Mom would come to my primary school to deliver lunch. She would come and then pick us from school. So the time we took ourselves home, that is around P6, P7, I was in Old Kampala Primary School, we would find Mommy home. But what is happening now? The child is left alone. At home. Therefore, what does this deprive them? They are deprived of love, they are deprived of attention, they are deprived of care. That is the situation we are in today. And who is home? Nobody. If should there be someone, there is a housemaid or housekeeper. So the housemaids have replaced the mothers. Now, should the housemaids have a poor background, then there is nothing they can help with the young ones. And in the first place, the young ones disrespect them. We've had cases where housemaids have actually sexually used the young boys. We've had housemaids physically abusing the young ones. Right now, the nuclear families are so closed in. They are in Babylon Bikomera, they can't go out. this deprives the young ones the rich reception they would receive if the community, if members of the extended family would always come home. So they are deprived of that rich reception. They are deprived of the experiences that come from the bigger family. And therefore, they are deprived of social interactions. They are only limited to the father, to the mother, if at all they are there, and to the immediate siblings. Now, because of the independent living that is prevalent, children are therefore unattended to, they are neglected, they are abused. Now, there is a challenge of nursery boarding schools. Young ones at a tender age are taken to boarding. This young one grows with no sense of belonging, with no sense of identity. That is why when they reach their teens, they rather open up to their fellow teenagers at school rather than the mother, because there was no bonding with the mother. The other challenge is the mass media that is prevalent. Radio, TV, TikTok, WhatsApp, all the media that is available, it exposes children to inappropriate habits. And many of these habits are foreign to the African setup and not necessarily good. Now, these foreign habits, this Western influence has resulted into confusion of sex roles. Because ideally, as well stated in the Bible, God created man and woman. However, because of the Western media, a girl can become a man. This is lesbianism. So they get confused about sex roles. Then, because of what they watch, they are told, you have the right not to do this. When the parent tells you, I know a sad story of a little one. The father took the children to the UK, and he wanted to extend the setup here, punish the children, restrict. They had to report him to police, and he was imprisoned. That belief of rights is blown out of proportion. The dressing you see in Kampala and beyond is a replica of Western influence. Now, there are those children who either have been discarded by the single mothers, they are taken up in orphanages, or the young ones that have learned bad manners are taken up in child correction institutions like here in Naguru. Now, these institutions have replaced the roles of the community and extended families. We have lost it out in that way. So those are the influences of child rearing practices undergoing changes because of the modern living that we encourage. Thank you very much. Let's look forward to a subsequent